Hello, Mixed Nutcases. This is Nuchas, and hello, YouTube land. We are going to be recording an episode about Unconventional Heroes. And, ooh, what pen should I use today, Jason?
Do you have one with like orange in it?
Actually, I do. Baby shark, do-do-do-do-do-do. Baby shark, do-do-do-do-do-do. Baby shark, do-do-do-do-do-do. It's an orange shark pen from Jinghao with orange ink.
Of course, I trigger the singing of that song.
To be fair, I currently have two shark pens inked. There's the orange one, and then there's the green one.
So Jen sent me a video on Facebook of a drill sergeant leading his troops, having them sing Baby Shark as a cadence. And I almost threw up in my mouth.
I was not able to watch that because I was traveling, but I could imagine.
Because I was just like,
it was pretty great.
That was the worst cadence ever.
It was pretty great.
And I've heard some bad ones. Old Vietnam ones.
You just hate those.
About club and baby seals.
All right. Yes, there are really bad ones. When we're not going to get into them. So we're going to be talking about Unconventional Heroes. Let me start the spiel. I'm going to try not to swear, so I don't have to make this over 18, and I don't have to edit, which I say every time, and then I still have to edit.
Hey, the last time we were around,
it was my fault.
It was you.
You got me so mad, though. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but it was something.
It was amazing. If we were playing a game of Nutty Bites Bingo, like that would have been like the center square that no one.
Yeah, that's the social drink. Although when editing, while I did edit out the swear, I did leave everybody catching me and scolding me. So there is the fun for that. And I used my new drop-in, Crock and Boosh. All right. Hello, Mixed Nutcases. This is Nuchas, and today we're going to be talking about Unconventional Heroes. And with me today, I have some regular guests.
I mean, at this point, we should just be family, right?
Well, you are family. This is true. Guests on the show, family. So we have, I'm sorry, I spoke over you, Jen.
It's Jen.
Hi, I'm Jason.
Yes, there is no tech here. You don't get to steal his line.
By the way, funny thing, on Nostalgia Pilots, we were talking about it, that everybody's just going to start doing that to take Tech's intro until he rages and kills us all.
I think that's a great plan. I really do. So Face, by the way, says I need to start leaving swearing in the podcast. Yes, I know. But then 13-year-olds couldn't listen. So we're going to be talking about Unconventional Heroes. And what we mean by that is, so we all, when you think of like a comic book hero, you picture Superman, Power Girl. You picture the boobs and butt pose. You picture the insanity of it all.
The Aryan bloodline.
Yes, which is really funny considering where Superman came from. Faye says, wow, text changed a lot.
We're still brown. It's fine.
So, so we're going to be talking about Unconventional Heroes, heroes that defy character types, that are unconventional in their behaviors, but also in maybe how they look. So I'm going to start this off with a favorite of mine. So you said you did some research. Did you do research on my girl Faith?
No, I did not get Faith, but I did get Kamala Khan. I did get Etta Candy.
Okay, so let's start with Faith. So Faith is from Vagrant Comics, which is a smaller imprint, but big enough that you will find them in comic book stores. She is amazing. She is a fat superhero that is unapologetic. And it is never she's a superhero, but she can still do things and be fat. No, it's never a question. It's never anything. Her secret identity, which I love, is basically she writes listicles for an online magazine Give it BuzzFeed. Um, and and she reports on, and she's a super geek. Like she makes Buffy references left and right and all sorts of really fun things. But there's like this whole backstory of her and some other superheroes. And like a big subplot is her thinking about her ex, who is exactly the conventional blonde-haired, blue-eyed
Square
superhero.
jaw.
Square jaw, yeah, perfect abs, yeah, everything. And it's great because she's out there, she's awesome. Her costume, it is very modest also. It's like a long sleeve jacket that splits down the center and pants and sneakers, which is completely practical. And some people have made comments about, oh, well, is it not a revealing costume because she's fat? And it's like, no, it's not a revealing costume because it's comfortable. I'm a martial artist. I don't want to practice with my belly exposed and my arms exposed, even though I might want to go to the beach that way. That's not how I want to fight. So I totally get a cotton costume that covers everything. And there was even an issue that they dedicated to this, to the idea of redesigning her iconic costume. And there are all sorts of variants, including a Sailor Moon inspired one, which was fantastic. And they got to draw every single one. And in the end, she's like, nah, I like mine, because she points out all the reasons why those would give her problems in fighting. So Faith is awesome. She is cheery. She is grounded. She has to deal with consequences of being a superhero. I will say when her secret identity gets out to some people at work, it becomes awesome because it shows that her secret, the only like downside is her secret identity is so oppressive for her that she can't actually just be the awesome person that she is. So when people start to know who she is, then she gets to really just be herself, going into that whole thing like with Bruce Wayne, that Bruce Wayne is the mask and that Batman is the real identity. It's very similar.
And I think that inversion is actually a better way to do things, because one of the reasons why I'm not a Superman fan is because he's such a Boy Scout, right? Like, and his persona, Clark Kent, is still just a Boy Scout, except they've like, oh, you're a sniveling nerd who has no gumption and you're put upon, right? Like that sucks, right? And so this isn't a hero, but an actual villain. I would like to talk about Miranda Waller.
Yeah.
Miranda Waller is the woman behind the Suicide Squad, and she's behind imprisoning all the supervillains from the DC universe. And if you don't know, Miranda Waller is a large, plus-size, strong, angry black woman. Like, holy living God! Like, Miranda Waller's a bamf, okay? Like
except in the movie, she's not fat, but she's still awesome.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I like the actress who played her because she's fantastic, but she's in the movie, she's been very much watered down. Like, but in the comic, she's like I just shot you in the face, deal with it type character, and it's awesome. And one of the things I've noticed about a lot of these unconventional superheroes and villains is that a lot of the times they make them plus size women, because like the one we talked about earlier, Etta Candy. She's basically a plus size a pinup girl. She started out as that way, and she's unapologetic about it. Like that's the best part about that character. Like she was just like, yeah, I'm big, so what? And it's awesome. And Miranda Waller, same thing. She's like, so what? I'll still kick your hiney. Let's do this, and it's great.
There is a trope of making the I'm going to put a pause right here. By the way, I just realized my audio was coming through my camera instead of my regular audio. And I'm curious, Jason, you're having the same issue because you guys seem to be going in and out.
It might be just my internet. Let's see.
But double check your settings. By the way, hi, Shane.
No, I should be. I'm pretty sure I'm going through my actual
So when you're
Might.
in the Hangouts window though, if you click on the little gear icon, it should
Yeah.
give you some settings and it should say where your video is coming from, where your audio is coming from, and where your audio is going to.
Yeah, my because I've got mine for my mixer. It's
Okay.
for me it's line 3.
Okay. Then it's just an internet issue.
Probably.
Yeah, I always have to adjust a little bit afterwards, and now I'm a lot lower than everyone else. Yeah. So balance is restored. Yeah, that's what happens. My mixer kind of levels things out.
Matter of fact, I can do a quick test real quick. How about now? Did I get louder?
Oh, that sounds lovely. Let me hear
Oh,
Jen.
really?
I was gonna say Jason's kind of loud.
Yes.
Well, hold on, because I actually turned up the master volume on my mixer. How about now?
You're back to where you were. Okay, that's better. I don't know. You weren't looking at your microphone, maybe.
All right, here we go. All right, I got it. Directional.
Directional.
I've also changed my positioning because I tried not to block Jen's face.
I'm okay with it.
You know, Nutty scolded me one time because she's like, "Your mic's in the way." Man.
Did I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sound like me.
Oh, I'm pretty sure if I asked one of your brothers, I'm pretty sure they would call that shit. They would call foul.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the 7th, so
Of course you don't.
all right. So getting back. So there is a trope of making villains fat, and it is frustrating because you've got Miranda Waller. We know she's bad because she's fat. Meanwhile, like the whole point is she's supposed to be a compromised person. She's supposed to be on the hero's side, but she does things in questionable ways. You've got Black Mariah from the comics, or just Mariah Stokes from the TV show, who in the TV show is not fat, but in the comics, well, first off, she was such a stereotype. It was painful.
Very painful.
But she was also amazing. And in the TV show, she is absolutely amazing. And I do not mind that she was not fat, simply because I am in love with Alfred Woodard. So, I mean, that woman is amazing. And she brought so much to the...
If you haven't seen the mid-range part of season 1,
I didn't want it. Yes, that's all you have to say is I didn't want it. Yes. She is amazing, and she deserved an Oscar for that. Not an Oscar. I guess they get Emmys, an Emmy for that. But also Kingpin is always portrayed as large. Even the principal from the Matilda books was a large woman. The Ursula is large. Represent. Wearing an Ursula t-shirt.
And it's funny, right? Like, also with that trope, they also like kind of sexualize them in a way, or make them have some sort of like sexual quirk. Like prime example, right? Like Black Mariah was very sexual, but also she had a history of sexual assault. And then Ursula is very bountiful up top.
Well, you know what it is? It's they portray the fact that they dare to have desire, and that's the deviant part. It's like, just because if they're fat, they're also sexual, and oh my God, that's awful. We can't have that. And that's all supposed to be signs that they're a villain. But it's very frustrating to me because you don't need to take that shortcut. But I will say, don't you take those fat characters from us. No. I do not want to see Ursula thin ever. I don't care if you get Alfred Woodard to play her. It's not going to work because it's Ursula. So when we do our live action Little Mermaid movie, because they're going to do it because they're doing every other freaking Disney movie in live action, I do not want to see a thin Ursula, which I heard that Once Upon a Time did, and I am not watching because I am very upset.
We don't talk about Once Upon a Time in this house because someone here liked that show at first.
I did too.
And then was betrayed.
Yeah,
I just stopped watching.
I was betrayed.
Like, it wasn't even that. I just stopped watching. I don't have time.
It went on too much. They finished a story like they should have they really should have just stopped when everybody woke up.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. I do have a little faith in that Aladdin live action. a little faith, not a lot, but the
That's
last
just because Will
Unpopular
Smith's in
opinion.
it.
Unpopular opinion. I am not looking forward to Will Smith as
No,
Genie.
it's not actually because Will Smith's in it. I do think that gives the movie credit because he's in it, but because they actually got brown people.
Is it because Jafar's hot?
That is actually a problem for me.
Really?
You know who should have played Jafar?
Let me guess.
And he plays everything. Old boy who played Gandhi, and he was
Ben Kingsley?
He's Indian. He is
No.
Indian.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I don't think
he's half Indian. He's half Indian.
I'm looking it up.
He is. Real talk. I looked it up too because I thought he was white. I thought he was super white, and he is half Indian.
Oh, well, if you say so.
He says a lot of things, though.
He is.
Oh, yeah. Krishna Pandit Banjani. He was born in English, but with a name like Krishna Pandit Banjani. And I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. Okay.
No, and the reason why I say that is because because the fact that Jafar is super hot and young in this, I'm like, no, I've always thought Jafar was an evil, creepy old man.
I am fine with Jafar being hot. I actually didn't find out that he was hot until I watched Sophia's video and everybody's going crazy about Jafar being hot. I am fine with that. Although I will say I would have loved to have seen them decide to gender swap Jafar. I know it wouldn't actually work in like time period, whatever, but it would be kind of fun. Because could you imagine a super sexy femme fatale Jafar?
Or bump that. Make Aladdin a woman.
That's fine for me too. Okay, that's a lot more interesting.
I mean, I'll take that. Like, and it's funny, we talk about gender swapping, and a lot of people had problems with when they gender swap characters.
Like Starbuck or Dizzy.
Yeah. And I'm like, guys, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely fine, especially if you gender swap and you get an actress who's better than the male counterpart they could have gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And
as much as I am for gender swapping, it's not just the fact that it's gender swapping that bothers people. It's the fact that let's go back to the whole Aladdin part. If Aladdin was a woman and the woman is pursuing the man, that's not something that you see very often at all.
Although I would love to see more of it.
I know, right?
That's because it shrivels all the internet nerds' neckbeards' testicles, and they get all upset because they're like, "Oh my god, a woman can speak for herself! My god."
Well, it's one of those things. It's like, oh no, I don't want a woman that's too forceful. But why don't any women like me? Because you're not making a move, and you don't want a woman that makes a move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, incels, you suck. But no.
So back to Unconventional Heroes. So
spoiler alert, I could go on a rant for a long time about this. But so I also want to point out.
Sorry, is that a spoiler alert for a future podcast?
Oh man,
because he's going to rant about
I've
it.
thought about it. So
oh, we will do it. We will do it, buddy.
Because I got into a black hole looking at their beliefs. Oh boy,
it's scary. Yeah. It's scary. So, like we said, sometimes I feel it's very lazy to make fat characters the villain because, that's what we're supposed to know. I mean, there's that great J.K. Rowling quote about how, why is it that society wants us to believe that fat is the worst thing that we could be? Fat is somehow worse than, being mean and unfair and racism and bigotry. And yet, Miss Rowling, you depend on it. The Dursleys, you've got Father Dursley and Dudley Dursley, and you're constantly talking about how they're piggies. And the only reason why your beloved Hagrid is allowed to be big is because he's part giant. And Slughorn is meant to be seen as unscrupulous and doing questionable things because he's fat. Crabbing, yeah, the I don't know which one's the fat one.
It was like an inverse of Laurel and Hardy. Like
yeah. I mean, so really, JK, It's very nice to say those things, but when you started writing, you used the trope.
So
It is a trope, but bigger people are also seen as intimidating, so you think the worst of them in the first
Yep.
place.
but yet, you know,
Jason pulls that excuse all the time, saying he's a big black man that's scary.
that they do. People, if they get to know me, they'd realize I'm like a pussycat. It's fun.
You are a teddy bear. You are 100% teddy bear who's not going to do nothing.
Exactly. Now, so it's funny, right? Like this is such an inverse to what it used to be, right? Because back, you know, in Victorian era and stuff like that, like royalty was considered to be big people. Like you were supposed to be
Yeah,
plus
like
size
in the medieval
royalty.
times and all of that, it was if you were heavy, it was because you had wealth and opulence.
Yeah, and people considered you also like people considered, you know, large men to be virile
Mhm.
and you know, again, like you said, opulent, because that was a sign that you could take care of yourself. And
Yeah.
now the entire inverse of that is where people think just because you're big or just because you're not the societally acceptable size that you're unhealthy and
And
that you treat yourself badly or you don't exercise or whatever, which
and
is
that's
not true at all.
definitely no, not at all. The only thing you can tell about a fat person by looking at them is that they're fat. And I say that as a fat person, by the way, if you're not watching the video. The This all comes down to class. Back in the medieval times and earlier, it was because only the wealthy could afford to be fat. Everybody else was starving.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm sure there, I mean, we know that there were fat peasants still. And then as things progressed in this day and era, the ideal is to be like the tiniest you can be, and you have to go to the gym, and you have to this, and you have to have a trainer, and blah blah blah, and all of these things cost money, and it's about I look good. I have the ideal beauty because I have these things that cost money. You know, in the back in the day, having a tan meant you worked outside. And so it was all about being pale. And now it's about, oh, I need to have a tan because then it looks like I've been on vacation. And it all comes down to class. Can you afford to go on vacation? Can you afford a trainer? Can you afford having your meals prepared for you or any other nonsense, whatever they think you have to do? So yeah, it's this implicit bias that affects us. And like Jen said, I mean, people feel intimidated when somebody is larger, just in the same way that people will automatically respect things that look expensive.
You know, and I'm glad you brought up the whole plus size factor because there is a show, and I'm pretty sure I know this is going to be very near and dear to your heart, Nutty, that shows plus size and large figured female characters being super and awesome and amazing without cutting corners or making them whatever. And that's the new She-Ra. Like those characters are, yes, they are like She-Ra's like still like tiny, but there are characters in that show that are not the stereotypical, like they're not Sailor Moon magical girls. You know, I love Sailor Moon, I do, but they're
But
not.
they are magical girls.
Yeah,
They are
right.
definitive magical girls.
Yeah, they are magical girls, but they are not that Barbie-esque. Like, you know, one of the reasons why a lot of people have problems with Sailor Moon is that the fact they're all super tall, super long legs, short skirts, and none of them have any weight on them. Like they haven't eaten in years.
Except for Usagi, because all
But
she
you don't
does is
get that.
eat.
But she doesn't gain any weight for some reason.
Right. Because she's magic.
You know, but but with She-Ra, you don't have that because there's actual characters who actually they have size to them. And another show I think that does this really well is Steven Universe. Because spoiler alert,
Steven Universe. Yeah.
He's a magical boy and he's a little chunkster and it's great.
That is a show that I would say has actual plus size, whereas She-Ra is more curvy and slightly unconventional shapes. But I wouldn't really go into saying anyone on there is fat.
Well, yes, I wouldn't call them fat, but I would definitely say that they are not your stereotypical size
That being
character.
said, I'm totally going to do a Glimmer cosplay.
Yeah.
I'm not tall enough for Scorpia. Although Princess Scorpia is awesome. Um, but if I did a
Again,
Scorpia, I'd need somebody to be Catra because that's the whole point, right? Um,
shipping all around, all the shipping, everything is shipped.
it's friendship shipping too, but yes. um, but yeah, like I would be more than happy to take those tropes and throw them in a dumpster. But as we said, Miranda Waller is an amazing character, and she is scary.
Right.
And not a hero but a villain, Mariah Stokes is pretty awesome. And again, let's move past the initial use of the character. So bad. It might as well be the welfare queen from Glow. I mean, that's how bad it is. If you haven't read the comics, it's bad. It's real bad. But these are some amazing characters. And there is something to be said, I think, for these questionably gray characters. The only way that Harley Quinn gets to be a hero is because Miranda Waller is forcing her.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Because
And that actually starts her as a hero because later she ends up doing hero stuff on her own.
yeah, I mean, in the Injustice comics, which are super huge and actually really, really good, because of her becoming an actual hero in those comics and working with Batman and going against Superman's forces, she has a fantastic relationship with Black Canary. And if you have not read some of the scenes and dialogue between them online, please go look it up. There's a scene where Black Canary's in the hospital and Harley Quinn talks about when she was pregnant. It is one of the best things I've ever read in a comic. And I love Why the Last Man.
Even better is earlier when they're in the middle of a fight and she finds out that she's pregnant and she's like, well, I can't beat up on you now. She's like, I know what that was like. And then she talks about being pregnant and and then they team up after this. They form a bond.
Injustice is one of the best characterizations of Harley Quinn ever put to ink. Like, it is superb. And that's an unconventional hero because, spoilers, she was created for a cartoon. She was not initially made for comics. She was a cartoon character. Like, they literally gave the Joker a sidekick. And now I would wager to say that she's more popular than the Joker himself because for multitudes of reasons. One, because she's become a far more powerful and strong character. And also the Joker has fallen away without good representation of the Joker, which he hasn't had. Like, yeah, we got Heath Ledger, we got Mark Hamill, but for the most part, that's it, right? Harley Quinn, because of her meager beginnings, has now developed into something exceptional. And they've done, and because, and I wanted to talk about this when we talked about Miranda Waller and Black Mariah, is that because they use these characters that they're like, oh, this is a black big girl, she's got to be a villain. They also take the liberty of giving them those storylines and those unconventional arcs that they wouldn't give to a mainline character because they're worried about ruining that mainline character's reputation. They'll give those more compelling, more original concepts to the characters that they're like, well, this is a villain, we can just throw it away, or this is the fat black girl, we don't have to worry about that, or we made Harley Quinn up for this cartoon character show, spot, so we can do whatever we want with her, no one will care. And then they find out the hard way that what they've now done is made something far more compelling, far more interesting, and far more real than what they were doing. Because yes, you do have people in this world who come out to be the tall, blonde, blue-eyed, square-jawed hero. But actually, most people come out to be I'm rather kind of short. I got a few extra pounds. I got brown eyes, black hair, brunette, or whatever. And I just kind of look like everybody else because we're human.
Mm-hmm.
And, they want to think they can stand out and do things differently. When in reality, the fact that most people are just normal makes this more compelling.
Mm-hmm.
And
by the way, this is reminding me of props to Jessica Jones for making the Wizard the way that they portrayed him in the show.
Is that season 2?
Yeah, little short, fat nerd. Love the Wizard. He's so cute. I love him. I want to protect, but I can't.
You know, it's funny, right? Like, also, one of the things about unconventional heroes is that usually unconventional heroes have unconventional relationships.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at Luke Cage and Jessica Jones at this because they are an interracial couple. And when they became an interracial couple, that was not a thing that happened. Like, you didn't have a black and white couple in a comic like that. And not only was it beyond sex, it was an actual relationship. They had a child together, they superheroed together and everything. And they had real problems.
Mhm.
One of the problems they had was the fact that Jessica Jones was like, yo, we have a kid now. We can't go fighting bad guys. Like, this is super dangerous to our child because we don't even know if our child's going to have superpowers. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with this whole thing. Because usually, like, in the conventional comics, like with Spider-Man and so forth, you know that nothing's going to happen.
2006 is when they got together.
Yeah, and before
That's
them,
still very late. I guess, yeah, in comics, it's, I don't know.
yeah, that's
Is
really
it?
because you got to think, right? Because like some of the big comic book couples were like, were the requited love between Logan, aka Wolverine, and Jean. You also had like couples at the time. You had Storm and Black Panther, but no one knew about them because Black Panther's B-list and Storm was kind of the like active sidekick of the X-Men. Like no one really.
Sorry,
No one
I
really-
hate the idea that Storm could be a sidekick because she should have her own comic. She's amazing.
She, like, don't get me wrong, like they had her own comic, but no one cared. It's like Iron Man, right? Like no one gave a crap about Iron Man until Robert Downey Jr. realized that he was a great actor and could look super sexy with a well-trimmed goatee. And you know, like with the inception of like Jessica Jones and those ground level superheroes, they became unconventional characters, especially for Luke Cage, because Luke Cage is a big, strong black dude. And he goes toe to toe with the not so big, doesn't look very strong white dudes. And a lot of the times he wins. And I can't, if the internet existed when Luke Cage was incepted, I can only imagine the things the neckbeards would say. He can't defeat so and so because so and so's got, and I rolled a nat 20, and they storm off somewhere. Like the things that we're thinking of as unconventional actually are far more realistic and far more grounded than what they have made into the socially acceptable hero. I mean,
By the way, Storm did have an interracial relationship with Forge.
poor Forge.
Nobody remembers Forge.
I was gonna say, who's Forge?
To be fair and honest, Wolverine has had two best friends in the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Forge and Morph were two of his best friends and the
What
main
about
ones.
Kurt?
And
Come on.
they killed Morph, okay?
Yes, they
didn't
killed Morph, but like he's still best friends with Kurt.
Yeah, he is, but they killed Morph because he was that he fell into the whole like.
Oh, he was totally
I'm a-
fridged, you know, and that's the thing. You don't want to be
he
too
was
close
fridged.
to Wolverine
A
because you're
hero.
gonna die.
Get fridged. And then of course with Forge, like there was the whole traveling. There's a lot that happened with Forge. But you know, like, and also the reason why I don't count the whole Storm and Forge thing is because no one cared about Storm. Like
If I had to make you think of a relationship that Storm had, a romantic relationship, what's the one you're gonna think of?
it's either going to be Storm of Black Panther or Storm of Wolverine for that short period of time.
Oh,
Wait, Storm
That's
and
another
Wolverine relationship?
It was a really short one because there was also, by the way, can we talk about the fact that they gave Storm a wonderful character design later where she had the mohawk and the outfit, and it was the best iteration of Storm. Like she
Mohawk
looked
Storm
awesome.
is 100% the best Storm ever. It is her final form. I will say that my little geek heart of hearts, and I know the character is straight, but in my heart of hearts, I always wanted her to be bi.
You know what? I don't understand why not. But then again, I still feel like now that Black Panther's had a resurgence, and we also got a version of Storm that we like from Age of Apocalypse, because that's that Mohawk Storm, by the way, or the movie version of the Mohawk Storm. That we might get to see that on screen.
Maybe. Well, I just don't want it to be Halle Berry. I'm sorry, Haley. I love you. You're a great actress, but you can't pull off comic book characters.
What's really sad is I was listening to a podcast and they were going through like, well, when was the last time Halle Berry made a good movie? And they started going back through it. And I think the last one was Monster Ball. And I have problems with that movie.
Wasn't she in one of the Bond movies?
No one cares. That's not a good
No one cares.
No, that's not a good
I
movie.
don't care because she has still put more good out there in film than most people will ever do in a lifetime.
Oh,
so if she wants to skate, if she wants to just do movies that don't emotionally drain her, I have no problems. I just don't want her to play any more of my comic book characters.
And, I will give now, to be fair, they didn't give Storm much to do in those movies either.
No, it's poor writing.
So we didn't get to see Halle Berry actually try to be Storm. Like she just kind of stood around. Again, she was relegated to the sidekick of those movies. Like she had
so, Jen, do you have an unconventional hero you want to talk about?
So, and she's probably not considered like an actual hero, but Edna Mode is one of my favorite characters that is behind the scene that technically comes along to save the day. I mean, she had...
That sounds... What is that from? That sounds so
That's familiar. From The Incredibles.
Okay.
Gibbs.
She raises that baby, by the way.
She totally does.
She totally raises that baby.
She totally does.
That Edna Mode is amazing.
Right. Super smart. Very, very confident. Keeps everybody going smooth. And yes, she's not considered a superhero, but at the same time, without her, superheroes aren't really getting anything done.
Well, it's when you talk about her, right? She falls into that space of giving you that wisdom that you need to be a better superhero from the
support.
Yeah, from the standpoint, she literally sizes you up, realizes she's the Duke Keegley of the Incredibles franchise.
Yes, she is. She is more than just a Q. She is a Q. She is an Alfred. She is a Duke Keegley. She is everything rolled into one. She is a mentor. She is the Uncle Ben. You put them all in, and you've got Edna Mode, and she is a ringing endorsement of women in STEM. Because her superpower is she's an engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the best part is like the first Incredibles movie doesn't happen if she doesn't make the new suit for Mr. Incredible. Like, it doesn't happen. And spoilers, if you haven't seen Incredibles 2 yet.
Who hasn't?
I only just saw it this year, by the way.
But if she does not help Mr. Incredible deal with the baby. The movies they lose because she helps him learn how to deal with his own child and she also helps raise it. By the way, the scene where the child is walking behind her pretending to smoke is so
There's a whole bunch of stuff from that movie that I absolutely love. I also love that she is a person who is childless by choice, and she's like, "Oh, kids," and then she's like, "No, I like this baby. I keep this baby."
And she did super good with that kid. Super good.
I keep this baby. This one I like.
And I also love the fact that they show how they also. By the way, one of the reasons why that movie is so good, and I'm fine. We're waiting 14 years to get that sequel. Is that they show how Mr. Incredible, in all his strength, all his prowess, is suffering at trying to raise these kids. And they show her handling this spastic, unpredictable child with ease.
Because it's by choice, like she could master anything, but she chooses not to master this.
Absolutely. And shows that he's making this thing into much bigger of making a mountain out of a molehill. Like all he really has to do is just be there for them when they need him. Like, let them grow up on their own. Like, it's
Well, and he's doing a classic mistake that parents try to do is they try to fix issues for their kids. You can't live your kid's life. So he tries to fix the whole relationship thing that Invisible Girl is having with the boy she likes. And he tries to fix it. And you can't fix it. You have to let them live their life and
you
make
can
their own
advise them.
mistakes.
You can advise them, but they still have to make those choices on themselves.
And most importantly, your job is to be there when their heart's broken. And if they're surly to you, that's part of it.
Yeah. And also, if your child has multiple superpowers and has an awesome fight with a raccoon that is amazing, you just got to deal with that, dude. Because like you and your wife has elastic powers and you're basically Superman. Like, it's going to happen.
They're going to have a fight with a raccoon?
By the way, can we just say that raccoon probably had superpowers? Because how in the world did he survive fighting that job?
He descended from Scritch.
Yes,
Ice Age.
That's very true.
He's the evolved form of Scritch.
That's very true.
But I think that Edna Mode is a fantastic example. And I think that one of the things that I like about all of these characters is none of them rely on someone else to rescue them.
Mm-hmm.
Even the villains, they don't rely on someone else to rescue them. They are self-sufficient. They don't need somebody to crack through their hard exterior. Everything is self-driven, and this is why I like them.
Dude, I would love it when we get to a place where we can have basically the Bond villain trope for women. Like, where they're like, well, actually, you all thought you had me, but really I've got a secret tunnel hidden in this wall that's going to rocket me into space, and I've escaped you, Bond. Goodbye. Hit a button, fly away. Like, because
I feel like somebody's going to write in and say that Diana Rigg already played her somewhere.
You know, because you have that, like in normal comics and normal movies and stuff, the male villain, like especially in Bond movies, right? Like they always have a secret escape route or whatever, and the victims or the ones caught by Bond are usually the ones he has sex with. There's problems with James Bond, folks. Problems, lots and lots. Still want to see Idris Elba as James Bond, but there are problems with James Bond. But but when are we going to get a mastermind woman villain? Like, when are we going to get one of those? Like, when are we going to get like an actual James Bond villain, but a woman? Like, I'm waiting for the moment where James Bond tries to bed a woman, but actually she is the super villain. She's like, no, Mr. Bond, you're not going to bed me. I'm going to expect you to die.
James Bond is stuck in
the fucking 60s.
Yeah, basically. So,
well, consider the source.
In my opinion, it's going to die off pretty soon because it won't modernize things like having a female villain or
Black James Bond.
Well, maybe Kingsman can fix this. Because if Bond's not going to do it, the Kingsman can.
So okay. So I'm glad. Oh, thank you for bringing up Kingsman, because spoiler alert, Netta, you're probably going to have to bleep this out, but I get to talk about anal cast.
Wait, what?
So, if you have spoiler alert for Kingsman, the first movie, the princess.
Oh, that is all BS. Let's just say she offers him a sexual favor.
She does, and I give this movie credit. Like, I feel like they do definitely objectify her in this movie, but I think they do it for a reason. But I also like the fact that it's her. I love the fact that it's her that makes the advance. It's her that makes the deal, because you don't get that in movies a lot. You don't get women being okay with sex at all in movies. Like, anytime they're okay with sex, they're a prostitute, or they're some sort of like drug addict, or some sort of dark past where they were sexually assaulted by men or whatever.
Oh yeah, because they're only badass because they were raped. Yeah, I hate that trope.
Yeah, but for her, she's like, you think you're going to save this place? That's fine. If you save it, I'll do this. And he's like, all right. By the way, the fact that the Kingsmen do that.
I have one better, by the way.
The walking satire.
I have one better. She didn't mean to receive.
That
That's
would be
possible.
That would
And
be
he
fantastic.
was just as excited.
By the way, that would be fantastic. Also, you see that in Deadpool 1, by the way.
Yes, you do. And that's why I bring it up because, as Faye said in our chat, Deadpool's an unconventional hero and he
Yep.
swears a
See,
lot.
Okay. So, insight into the behind the scenes of Talk Dirty to Me, right? Jen asked, she's like, well, Deadpool would count as an unconventional hero, right? And I was like, I don't think so because he's still a white guy.
Yeah, that was all he said.
I saw the beard. The beard. If you're not watching the YouTube, none of you get what I just.
No.
None of you.
Nutty, edit that out.
No, don't edit it out. But no, we're having this very discussion about Deadpool because she's like, he would be an unconventional hero, right? I was like, no, he's a white guy.
Well, I said by actions as well. And okay, so comic book Deadpool, not movie because they really didn't go far enough. Comic book Deadpool is supposed to be so disfigured that everyone is grossed out by looking at him. Movie Deadpool
He's
is
Ryan
not
Reynolds,
even
we know he's
close.
gorgeous. He's Ryan Reynolds and we know he's gorgeous.
But not even that. Like, nothing's oozing.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing. Like, I always thought Deadpool was oozing.
He's a CW character.
He is. He's a CW character. I mean, it's like, oh no, I've been so disfigured. I look like the Phantom of the Opera. You know, it's just a bit of latex.
Oh no, I look like Ryan Reynolds before makeup in the morning. Oh no.
Yeah, woke up like this.
I woke up like this. What do I do? I don't know. Be sexy, I guess.
And like, honestly, if that was his face, like, it could be fixed. It could be like, there's so many other things. It's really frustrating because there are people out there who have scars that are more intense. And then they go and they watch this movie and it's so horrible. I'm going to have Jason Lee just go on a litany of things that I think your face looks like, which is just mean. Personally, I like the fact that the character has this disfigurement, that the character has this problem that he has to cover his face because it's gooing and it's gushing and it's just, he's constantly dealing with this radiation burn that should be killing him, but his regenerative powers are so strong that he's fighting it off.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, right? Because a lot of people forget that there was a character like that before Deadpool.
Deadshot?
His name is Spawn.
Oh yeah. Well, Spawn is a little different, and
Spawn's a little different. He's not healing factor. He's just a dead guy who's been completely disfigured, and he loses his life because of whatever. He's a black guy who is super totally disfigured and tries to gain his life back, but he can't because his wife doesn't recognize him because he's super disfigured. And they kind of turn that on its head with Deadpool. But I definitely think Spawn is an unconventional hero.
So, by the way, Deadpool came out a year before Spawn.
Really?
Yep. He is in the New Mutants 1991, and Spawn was in 1992.
Darn it, McFarlane. What's wrong with you?
It's actually more than a year.
Come out a year earlier, McFarlane. God. But the point still remains that Spawn is an individual hero, and because one, he's black. Two, he had the whole, I'm the whole disfigured thing and all that. Matter of fact, he's like I would say he's probably the most prolific anti-hero before, like, black anti-hero character, like, other than like Batman, right? Like, because Batman's the biggest anti-hero, right? Like, that's the biggest one.
Well, I mean, Batman's an anti-hero, but I think that Spawn is I think that Deadpool is more of a reluctant. He's an anti-hero, but he's a reluctant hero as well.
Can we call Deadpool the troll hero? I feel that's more suitable. Like,
well, he's a troll everything. So, I mean, that's a given.
By the way, to be fair and honest, Ryan Reynolds, perfect cast.
Ryan Reynolds is perfect. When I first heard that he was cast as Wade Wells, I was so excited. And then I saw that train wreck of a movie. And even if you see him in interviews, he says, oh no, that's not the one. He just said yes because it was Deadpool. And then if you see interviews, he said yes to Green Lantern without looking at the script because of course I want to be Green Lantern.
By the way, best post credits.
Yes.
Best post credits.
It's even better when you're in Canada and you're in a movie theater in Canada and he says, "You're welcome, Canada," and we all cheer.
And, oh man, Green Lantern, you hit the big time, kid.
So Shane brings up that the Spawn movie was a rubbish film. I will say that the HBO animated was a million times better. Yes, because at the same time, HBO came out with an animated movie, and then the theaters had the live action movie. The animated movie was so much better.
And you can actually get the animated Spawn on HBO Go or HBO Now, whatever you got right now. I would also like to say, to save him some rep, Michael Jai White, who played Spawn in that live action movie, has done a lot of good movies.
Was that Michael Jai White?
Yes, it was. That's one of his biggest roles starting out. Michael Jai White also was one of the gangsters in Dark Knight, but also he did a little known movie called Blood and Bone. Mm-hmm. Blood and Bone is where he's a martial artist seeking revenge and all this other stuff for a friend of his who was killed in prison by Kimbo Slice, by the way.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know, right? And he stars alongside Dante Bosco, who I actually interviewed on Talk Nerdy to Me, who played Zuko from Avatar and Korra, the Last Airbender, Korra, and stuff like that. But it's actually really good. And the thing is, Michael Jai White is an actual martial artist, so he does his own fights and choreography and all that good stuff. So it's not just some BS like, look at me do this slow-mo punch because I don't want to hurt the stunt guy. Like, he's actually doing the stuff, and it's good. It's like watching a Wesley Snipes movie, right? Because Wesley Snipes is an actual martial artist, and he also sells some action when he does it. So it's really good, and Michael Jai White has done some good stuff, but that Spawn movie is not good. To be fair, John Leguizamo, pretty great in that movie.
And he's in both of them. He's in the live action and the animated.
Because John Leguizamo is pretty darn great, and he calls his son Honey, and it's amazing.
And the actor that plays Spawn in the animated, Keith David, is an amazing actor, and his voice is perfect. But it's also Dr. Facilier.
Can we also say that if Keith David snuck up behind you and spoke to you, you would crap?
Oh, I would. Things would happen.
There'd be a lot of contradictory reactions.
So I do want to bring up, and this I think I'm stealing from Jason, because Jason told me how important this character is to him. Miles Morales.
Oh, gosh.
Jason, why don't you tell us how important it was for you to see Miles Morales?
So it's not very often that I have an experience at a movie theater. But seeing Into the Spider-Verse and seeing Miles Morales put onto the silver screen and done so well made me realize how much my childhood was lacking. Because, yes, Black Panther existed. Yes, Storm existed. Yes, Luke Cage existed. But these were B and C tier heroes. You didn't see them in comic shops unless you asked for them specifically.
And the whole point of them is that they were black. They weren't heroes who were black. They were black heroes.
Yeah. And the fact that they take Miles Morales and they get rid of the whole with great power comes great responsibility moral, and they actually make the moral of the movie that anyone can be behind the mask of Spider-Man, to include a biracial Black and Hispanic kid from New York who gets sent to a private school because his father and mother want the best for him, and he doesn't want that. Like, one of the understated things about Miles Morales in that movie is the fact that he doesn't want to go to the private school. He thinks he's fine.
Careful, I haven't seen it yet.
This isn't a spoiler. It's this is just, you see the scene in the trailer where his dad's like, say I love you. And he's like, Dad, say I love you. By the way, the most realistic idea of a parent ever. Because parents embarrass you guys, okay? They love it and they get off on it. It's a thing.
That's very true.
But Miles Morales being done so well, and the fact of the matter is nothing about his color is accentuated. Like being biracial is not what makes him Miles, right? Like what makes him Miles is the fact that he's smart, he's capable, but he's also new at this whole thing. And in the movie, there's a great scene where he's actually in his house getting ready for school. He talks to his dad in English, immediately listens to his mother in Spanish, answers her, and keeps going. They don't subtitle it. They don't do anything to it. It's just a part of his regular life.
Which is so true for so many kids, you know, especially if you grew up in a multicultural family or a multilingual family. And also, even if you're going to English school and your parents speak another language at home, you have to learn to code switch. And that is modern day.
Yeah, and it's so great. And like the experience I had was watching this. I'm like, where was this when I was growing up? Like, where was my Miles Morales? And I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm looking through all the superheroes and characters that I know, and he wasn't there. Like, he just wasn't. Like, I had to like Superman or Batman or Spider-Man, as he was known as Peter Parker.
You had to wait till 2011 for him to show up. That's what, yeah.
Yeah. Like, and by the way, I was born in 1985. So that's a long time to wait for a superhero that looks like me. Mm-hmm. And now I'm not biracial, but to see a brown superhero up front, by the way, like, if it wasn't for Black Panther, I don't think Into the Spider-Verse would exist, right? Because we had two superhero, well, we had one definite superhero movie and another superhero-esque movie, quote unquote, starring a Shaquille O'Neal. We had Kazam.
Oh gosh, that doesn't count. Let's not forget about Blade.
Shazam is the one where he plays a genie. It's real bad. It's real.
Kazam's the new one that came out.
Kazam right? Is the new one. Yeah. Okay. That's the one with Billy Batson.
No, that's Shazam.
Shazam, not Kazam. Sorry. It's a little hard. They're basically, one has an S, one doesn't.
That's okay, because originally Shazam's Captain Marvel, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's
not that Captain Marvel. Yeah.
There's a whole confusion along with that character. And by the way, I feel like that's Marvel thumbing its nose at DC consistently with Captain Marvel. But anyway,
no, because okay, so that the people don't get really upset, Captain Marvel was his own comic book character in a response to Superman, put out by a separate comic book company that was then later absorbed by DC with the name Captain Marvel.
But they didn't
Marvel Comics, huh?
The DC didn't keep the rights to Captain Marvel, so when Marvel Comics came out, one of the first things they did was make a Captain Marvel, and there was a whole lawsuit and then an agreement and blah, blah, blah. And they switched to Shazam. A lot of people are not happy about it, and they really think that Shazam should still have the Captain Marvel name, but whatever. And a lot of,
I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm just saying there is a history there, and it's not what many people think. It was not DC making a Captain Marvel in response to Marvel. It was Captain Marvel came before Marvel Comics.
Yeah, it was DC taking a character they saw that was popular and buying the company for that character. Yeah. And then Marvel stole that character because Marvel did a whole lot of that.
But they didn't steal the character. They just stole the character name.
Yeah, they jumped on the rights.
Because Marvel was completely different. It wasn't magic. It was alien technology.
Yeah, and by the way, all you neckbeards out there who still think it should be Shazam should still be Captain Marvel, we don't need another square-jawed white guy. We've got an awesome female superhero.
Okay.
Look,
I'm gonna say I understand people griping about it. I like it for the humor, but by the way, I think it's also really funny that you call everybody neckbeards. What's on your neck right now? Oh, that's right, that's a beard. But I like Shazam because Shazam, and we're gonna bring up Shazam. Shazam is an unconventional hero. Why? Because he's 15 years old. And when he turns into his superhero form, he's an adult.
He's
He
like
is
a
an
40-year-old
adult, but he's still a kid inside. They don't do that nonsense comic book thing, which, by the way, I'm looking at you, Supernatural season 13. We're going to make a born sexy male character. All right. And suddenly we have to treat him like he's an adult, even though he was born yesterday.
Oh my God.
Hate that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I can give Nutty a spoiler warning.
Oh no, I have to cut that out. All right.
Yes.
Dang it. All right, I'll cut it out. Oh, I'm terrible.
Yes.
So yeah, let's just say that I'm looking at you, undisclosed CW show that did a born sexy trope. I hate it. I hate the trope. If you've got a kid that transforms, their brain and who they are and their rights and consent are still a child.
You know, and I will, and if you have not read Shazam, there is a wonderful comic that features Superman in Shazam. And in the comic, something happens. And because Shazam is a child in an adult Superman body, that's basically what he's in, wrecks a police station. Like he wrecks a bunch of police, goes after the person that caused the situation. He is then stopped by Superman. And Superman goes, dude, you're a hero. You can't do that. What is wrong with you? And he's like, that was my, this person. And he's like, what are you talking about? And that's when he reveals that he is actually just a child. And Superman has one of the best reactions I've ever seen in a Superman comic. All he says to him is, who did this to you?
Yeah.
And he goes and finds the person who gave Shazam these powers. And he's like, what in the world is wrong with you? That is a child. He is supposed to be having child problems. He's supposed to be doing child things, not fighting men problems, like doing the thing that we as adults should
Robin.
be doing. Yeah, exactly. And it's so good. It's so freaking good. And the scene later on where Superman meets Billy Batson as a child and introduces himself, he's like, yo, you met me before. And he tells his, identity to Billy Batson. It's one of the most tender, sweet moments I've seen in a Superman comic or / Shazam comic ever. And it's really, really good. And again, Superman is not good because he's super powered, bulletproof, can fly, and square jawed, and is super handsome, blah, blah, blah. He's good when you give Superman the most realistic problems ever. If you've not read All-Star Superman, read it. It's a story about Superman getting space cancer. And I know that sounds ridiculous and super dumb.
No, it's Superman, so it makes sense. No, really, it does. He's not going to get human Earth cancer.
Exactly. But the way they have him address it and the way they have Superman go through these problems, amazing. Same thing with Red Son of Krypton, because it changes his origin. It changes if he doesn't land in Smallville, Kansas to a kind and moral family. What happens if he lands in communist Russia?
Yeah. So there's a lot of history of children in comic books being heroes. You've got Dick Grayson, you've got Raven from Teen Titans, you've got Superboy, Billy Batson, Kitty Pryde, you name it.
So you mentioned the title of an unconventional hero. Can we talk about Robin? And the reason why I say unconventional is because there's only been one female Robin.
Oh, well, yeah, that one's kind of fun. But actually, I was kind of moving forward towards Kamala Khan.
The
latest Ms. Marvel.
I have her pulled up on my phone, by the way.
The latest Ms. Marvel, I absolutely love it. And she came at a time when it was needed. And there are people that will sit here and say, oh, you're trying to make the United Colors of Benetton in our comic books and it's diversity for diversity's sake.
What?
But I will say that what I like about Kamala is she is a Muslim. She is her costume goes from a skin tight, because there were Ms. Marvels before her, a skin tight, very revealing outfit to a tunic, long sleeves, long pants, very modest in line with the tenets of her faith. And she's awesome. And she's a fan. Like she's one of these characters. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm meeting Steve Rogers. Can I have your autograph? Things like that. And she is a delight. Everything that I've read from her, I have been 100% behind. She is a positive character. She is a great role model. She is someone that young women can relate to. And it goes to show that, when we say that we need representation, I'm not saying that it's, this is for all the Muslim young women out there to read. No, this is for everyone to read. We need to see representation of more than just what we are. It's really great to be able to see yourself reflected in comics. For Jason, he didn't have that. He didn't have his Miles Morales. But for many young white people, we had, Kitty Pryde. We had Dick Grayson. That was supposed to be our representation. We also need to see the Miles Morales. We also need to see the Kamala Khan, because our experience is not the only experience out there. And there is a world full of people, and we need to see that, especially if you're in an area that is not very diverse. Like I grew up in a pretty diverse area, but then I have moved to less diverse areas, and sometimes it's like a little unnerving. And people in those areas, their fiction is how they learn about the world.
And mind you, before I go on here, Jen would like to say goodbye because she has to sadly go to work.
Don't you have to go to work?
Yeah.
No, I had my schedule mixed up. I'm off tomorrow. I got off at 1 today, but I work and I go in late, I think Tuesday, I think. The curse of being me.
Sure.
Jen, before you go, is there anybody else you wanted us to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You got to say goodbye to YouTube land.
Goodbye, YouTube land.
Bye, Shane. Jen, did you cut your hair?
Oh, Nutty hasn't seen your new haircut.
Oh, Jen has no hair.
Oh my gosh. Hang on. I gotta focus on you for a second. Get down. Tell her to get down.
Dude, she said do a squat.
Just get down a little. I'm just seeing the kitty face. Down, down, down. There we go. Ah, it's cute. I love it.
I'll text you. I can send you Facebook pictures. I still have, because she also got a new tattoo, by the way.
Well, she posts pictures, but you don't really see the length a lot of the time. So I need to see the beauty. Shane says bye, Jen.
That's turned out really well, by the way. I need to go to Seattle for tattoos. Shit.
$300.
Woo!
I didn't hear the price, but I assume it's a lot because it's Seattle.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It was worth it, but then
As she's walking out, she's like, it was worth it.
it was worth it, but we had to book that dude like months in advance.
Really?
We changed his name to Mark Skin.
His name is a dad joke. Sorry.
His name is what?
Mark Skin, a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Dad joke.
So, was there more that you wanted to add about how people need
Yes.
representation outside themselves?
So, okay. So, one of the things we researched before we did the podcast was Miss Marvel. And because there's a storyline in the comics, Rogue, an X-Men. absorbed all of her powers.
Yep.
And that's how Rogue gained the ability to fly and do all this cool
When
stuff.
when it was Carol Danvers, right?
Yes, when it was Carol Danvers. But then somehow Carol Danvers got her powers back.
Yeah.
It's really, really convoluted how she got her powers back. Like Rogue went through the thing called the something Solaris, and they split her from the persona of Carol Danvers, and then somehow they killed the persona of Danvers, and Rogue got the powers.
Because Rogue had Carol Danvers inside her head. So in addition to her, because she drained her almost completely. So in addition,
because it prolonged the fight. Like Rogue can take your powers and have them for a little bit, but if she holds on too long, she keeps you.
But she had Carol's memories. And so she was holding on to that for a really long time, and that was actually really messing with Rogue.
Yeah.
Although it did teach her morality.
Yeah, and through that she gained morality because of Carol Danvers, because Carol Danvers' lover was in trouble on a shield carrier, and that awoken the persona of Carol Danvers inside of her. She fought it, and then she also fought something called Space Knight, I think it was, and she absorbed his powers and memory, and then she gained morality and honor through that. And it's a lot.
It's a lot.
But
I'm actually really glad that they just went Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, and that they didn't go into all the backstory.
Yeah, and I also love the fact that they took the new Mrs. Marvel and they didn't just give her a representation of the old Captain Marvel's or Miss Marvel's powers. They let her have her own powers, and then she decided to take the mantle of Mrs. Marvel. That was her choice, right? And again, here's a little inside baseball for me. I was raised by all women. I know a lot of women, and I have a lot of conversations with women about things that women go through and have to deal with. And one of the things that I've realized that women have to go through that men do not is when it comes to protection in a sexual fashion. Men can just walk into a clinic. We can go get condoms, and that's it. End of story.
The most you're gonna get is like when, Kentucky Fried Chicken, when the kid goes into the pharmacy and he's all nervous about asking for condoms because it's the old guy that's known him his whole life. But yeah.
Full stop. Whereas women have to see a doctor, they have to go through this, they have to go through that. And just by making a choice, they open themselves up to so much scrutiny. And honestly,
sometimes it's not even for contraception. Just saying.
Sometimes, discomfort, pain, and follow-up visits. I mean, sometimes these things that they go through, not only do they, provide contraception, but also there are after effects that have to be addressed because of what they go through.
You don't say, Jason.
And it's like, I've said this, I've honestly within the last several weeks, I've had this conversation multiple times. I'm like, bruh, just get a condom. Like dudes out there, if you like a lady, maybe you should just be like, I got condoms. Like real talk. Real talk. Just try that. See what happens. They don't have to
I will say, and this might, some people might not want their 13-year-olds listening to this, but I don't care. If you think you're adult enough to have this kind of a relationship, you should be adult enough to be able to do it safely. And if it is with somebody who happens to have need of using a condom, depending on their body parts, it is that if it's your body part, you should have it. You should not expect someone who doesn't have this body part to have it. And if a person can't provide that, they do not deserve to partake in this adult relationship.
It's just it's a smidge of respect. Like if you went to your job and you didn't bring the materials you need for your job, you could not perform your job. So this is no different. Absolutely. And I bring
Why
that
your
up.
teacher's trying to remind you to bring a pencil to class.
And I bring this up because women throughout history, since the earliest days, have not had the ability to make a choice, whether it's about their sexuality, whether it's about their sexual preference, whether it's about the job they
So
want.
what you were saying is, that there's traditionally more oppression, and society limits the choices.
Yes. Like
Yes.
the fact that they
Of
let
female
this
presenting people.
Kamala Khan make the fact that they make Kamala Khan allow her to make the choice
Yeah.
of taking upon the mantle of Ms. Marvel and being a superhero and doing it
Yeah.
her way.
This isn't something that was thrust on her. This wasn't something that was
Absolutely.
forced on her. Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of important, I think.
Yeah, because again, it doesn't happen that often. Like, again, Nutty, you tell me I'm a feminist all the time, and I say I'm a pocket feminist because I just kind of whip my pocket feminism card out every once in a while. But like this, like, I'm not saying it was like a mind blown moment because I was raised by women. I've been around women my whole life, but the gravity and the weight of so much that they do is nothing. It's what men do is compared to them is nothing in retrospect. Like,
so what you're saying is that you have empathy, and we're very proud of you.
empathy, like, I wouldn't call him empathetic. I just realized that it's crap. Like, again, like,
Yeah.
when I can literally pick up any comic book and find a male character that I can relate to, versus
Boobs and butt everywhere.
how many comics do women have to go through before they find a fucking female character that actually is? Yeah, it's
Nutty, edit that out.
It's it's fine. It is super fine.
How many comics do women have to go before they find
anything that's not terrible representing women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it
let's put it this way.
It blew my mind.
The Silver Age, I think it was the Silver Age. If I get the ages wrong, just correct me. At one point in Wonder Woman's career, the Justice League makes her their secretary, and the writers take her powers away.
Boy, howdy. Like,
that's Wonder Woman. Like, come on. Now, Wonder Woman was written by a polyamorous bondage fetishist who based them off of the two dominant women in his life, who I think may or may not have also been involved with each other. She was written as bisexual in a time that nobody even knew what that was. And so they were like, no, this is way too scary. We better make her like less powerful.
She's got to run away with a man. She's got to make her choices because she's pursuing a man. It's fine.
It's all about Steve Trevor, right? Anyway, so I do want to mention before we get out of here, because we are talking about Wonder Woman, Etta Candy. We did drop her name before. She is from the original comics. The very first time you see her is 1942 in Wonder Woman #2.
She's winning for me, by the way.
I'm sorry. In Sensation Comics #2.
By the way, Etta Candy is winning for me because not only in her original form, she is a voluptuous pinup girl and is proud of it and is open about it.
And she is a fat pinup girl. She is awesome.
And then she becomes a black or a person of color. I think she's actually Hispanic. Voluptuous woman of curves and color. I'm winning.
But not only that, she is unapologetic, because her powers come from eating candy at one point.
It's great.
She likes to crush men between her thighs. She is amazing.
My God. She's stepping on me. It's great.
My only problem is that in the New 52, she was made thinner. And in the TV show, she was a thin woman, and thankfully that horrible David E. Kelly Wonder Woman TV show never got off the ground. That was also supposed to be a thin woman. But when the movie came out, which, by the way, I rewatched that this week, that movie is still rewatchable. I know it hasn't been that long, but after seeing Captain Marvel, yeah, I actually think I even like Wonder Woman better than I did originally. I still think I like Captain Marvel better, but I love the Wonder Woman movie, and it was so much fun to rewatch. But watching Etta Candy in that, all I could think is she needs more scenes. And I don't know how they're going to figure it out, but I really want them to bring her back into the 1980s Wonder Woman, because that's the Wonder Woman 2 is supposed to take place in the 80s, and figure it out, give her superpowers, get her into the 80s. I want to see her in a power suit with like giant shoulder pads and crazy hair. And
maybe it's because I have a thing for the pinup style, but like I just and I also was, when I was researching this, they had an awesome like classic pinup style picture of Etta Candy where she had like the blonde with the curls and like
the victory rolls and the
Yes,
red
and the
dress
red
with the white
dress.
polka dots.
I'm kind of cool with that. Like I'm okay with that. Like I'm just saying.
And that
like,
was drawn in 2016.
Like for me, if you want to do that, like I'm cool with that. Like I'm absolutely cool with that.
Did
do
you
that.
find any of the like vintage Etta Candy?
Where she was like the tiny person and like bouncing all over the place? Because it was a scene. I don't know if she like got turned into a kid or whatever, but she looked like a kid stuffing candy in her mouth, and definitely reminded me of Betty from Rat Queens.
Okay, I am going to send you a picture. And this is from like the 1940s, I think. And I'm going to send it to you in this little chat here, just so you can see. Those of you at home, just look up vintage or 1940s Etta Candy, and how she was drawn originally, just to give you an idea. She was a redhead, but she has always been drawn. You know, like her original inception was never supposed to be tiny.
Which is fantastic. Like,
yeah, she's so great.
It's kind of.
I just found a cosplayer cosplaying vintage Etta Candy with the big H on her. Oh, it's amazing. I love it.
So it's funny you mentioned cosplay. I found two cosplays that I absolutely am exceptionally happy with. There was one who does the current war chief of the Horde in World of Warcraft is the undead leader, Lady Sylvanas. And I saw someone doing a cosplay of her, and it was a plus size girl. She did a cosplay of Lady Sylvanas, and it was fantastic. Another plus size cosplayer did Roadhog.
Oh, Roadhog is an amazing plus size cosplay.
Oh my god, it's wonderful.
No one who is thin should ever play. Roadhog. You know, should ever cosplay as Roadhog.
No, Jen came back. She's fine. What's this? What's that? What's in there? Water. Okay. She's taking care of me.
Big shock. She's always taking care of you.
I sent a picture to the Facebook group.
Did you?
Fred loved it.
Nah, I've got to look, yo.
It was just a picture of my hair.
By the way, guys, these are just random interactions and conversations that me and Jen have all the time. She said bye, everyone.
Bye.
I don't know if you can see her. Can you guys see her peeking through the door? Hold on.
I see your forehead.
Can we like Jen? Yeah, there we go.
Peek.
By the way, these are the things that happen all the time that normally you don't get to see.
So before we wrap this up, are there any heroes that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I forgot completely. Squirrel Girl.
Oh yeah, Squirrel Girl.
Oh my god, we didn't talk about
Talk about a fun cosplay.
I know, right? Like, and I like the best part of this. Squirrel Girl is literally the most like. She's just not the type of superhero you would see, right? Like, I mean,
because she's a squirrel and she's a girl.
Yeah, like, I mean, think about it, right? I've got the power of the storm, or I've got superpowers. I can bend space energy and shoot it at people. Oh, I'm bulletproof. I'm a Spider Woman. And she's like, I'm a squirrel.
Okay, but she is, now we have discussed this previously. She is the most powerful superhero, or at least one of the top. She has superhuman agility, senses, and strength, a prehensile tail, which squirrels don't actually have, razor sharp claws, retractable knuckle spikes, and the ability to communicate with squirrels, which means she can have a horde of squirrels fighting with her.
Millions.
She's pretty amazing.
Oh my God. I just had a thought.
Yes.
Pippi Longstockings.
Yeah, Pippi.
She's stronger than 10 policemen, aka she also beat the Thing in an arm wrestling competition. So I think she's way stronger than that.
But she needs Annika and Tommy to like help her do things rationally and to think about what she's doing.
Yeah, because she's the definite idea of like, oh, I can't get rid of this problem. I'm gonna punch my way through it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I'm gonna
fire people off with doubloons.
Yeah, cold doubloons. She also threw a horse, by the way. Said she threw a horse. Like, just poor horse. Which by the way, I don't think 10 policemen could pick up a horse. I'm just saying.
Is that Junior?
Actually, no, that's his father, Petey.
Oh, it's Petey.
Indeed.
Petey wants to be on the podcast.
Again,
Petey, are you meowing into Jen's mic?
I turned her mic off.
Okay. Well, he's just loud then.
He is very loud. Oh. Say hi. Say hi to YouTube, Land.
No. Wait, let me put the camera on you because Petey's much cuter than I am.
He is. He's much cuter than
No.
You're better.
Oh, now I can tell it's Petey. Now that I can see the fangs.
The fang, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, they follow Jen around and they just follow her into rooms.
Yeah. Well, she is Cat Jesus.
She is very true.
So, anyone else after Pippi Longstocking?
Would Jubilee or Dazzler count? Since Jubilee has fireworks powers?
No, because I'm not going into just like that they have crazy powers. It's more like what you wouldn't expect because they really do kind of hit the nail on the head. Although Jubilee's Asian, right? So there is that going for her.
That is very true. Oh, we completely forgot about the race swap of Domino from Deadpool 2.
Oh, I loved that. I thought that was fantastic.
And her natural hair.
Yes, more natural hair in TV and movies. Thank you.
Look, folks, I'm black. I got nappy hair. It's fine. It happens. It happened, and it's great. Okay. But really, like you're on the table too, like really. And if you notice, I look at him and he gets down because he knows he's not supposed to be there. Like,
yeah.
But no, like Domino, fantastic. And you know what? I'm mad about the fact that we didn't hear the neckbeards out there complaining about Domino. You know why I feel like they weren't complaining? Because she's super hot. I'm just saying. Like, she's
I think they were out there.
Like one or two.
I heard a lot of complaints.
I feel like those are the ones who don't.
I don't care.
No, not really. No.
I really do not care.
The ones complaining about Domino being an attractive black woman are the same ones complaining about Bond potentially being a black attractive man named Idris Elba, who is also my internet boyfriend.
Yeah. I mean,
that
I have such little patience because you know what? It's the same people that argue against these characters. The race swapping or gender swapping are the ones that are going to absolutely freak out because they're like, no, you're changing that character's culture. But then they'd have no problem if it was the reverse. And I'm sorry, most characters do not have a culture that is most white characters don't have a culture that is part of being white. There are a few examples. For instance, Matt Murdock, he needs to be Catholic. It is very important that he is Catholic.
It's a part of him. And
yeah, he is an Irish Catholic. Like that is part of who he is. And I'm not saying that you could never change something there, but you'd need to have something like, if you change that, why don't you just come up with a different character?
Yeah, because his struggle is the fact that he was a Orthodox Catholic kid.
No, not.
But he was a Catholic kid. He was a devout Catholic who then had to realize that he had to do sinful things or things that he thought of as sinful to accomplish good things. And it was a terrible conflict within him. And it's probably what the best part of being Daredevil.
And the only reason that I really pushed that it wasn't, no, it's not Orthodox, is that they're actually two completely different churches. And the Orthodox Church would not appreciate being lumped into the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh, no.
It's not a well actually moment. It's there's, because Orthodox tends to actually be more than just, like, it really is tied to culture, whereas just Roman Catholic could be pretty much many cultures.
Yeah.
So one character I did not mention, and I know I've mentioned on the podcast before, I'm going to go with She-Hulk, because She-Hulk does not have a secret identity.
No, she doesn't.
She's a lawyer, and she goes to court with green skin.
Can we get a Daredevil, Matt Murdock, She-Hulk crossover? Can we get that?
They've had it in comics, but yes, I would love that.
Because she's a lawyer and he's a lawyer. I feel like they could make a great team. Like, do you really want to go against Daredevil and She-Hulk?
Yeah, not really. Well, I just don't want to go against She-Hulk. I want to be on her side. But yeah, no, I mean, she is fantastic. She is such a fun character, but she owns it. This is who I am. And people may not like it, but it's who I am, and I'm not going to hide who I am to make other people comfortable.
For one last thing that I did not talk about, because this will be outside of the realm of comic book heroes.
Well, we talked about Piggy Longstocking, so I think you're good.
More of a heroine is in the most recent film by Jordan Peele.
Oh no.
Us. Lupita Nyong'o,
who's a Disney princess and can do no wrong,
is in this movie, and she is. If you haven't seen Us, there's a duality in it. So she's not only a villain, but she's also a hero. And it's marvelous. And because of Black Panther, we've gotten so much more acceptability. And I hate saying this, but because Black Panther made cajillions of dollars, they realized that it's okay to be a person of color in a movie and herald and lead that movie.
Yeah.
And because of Us, we get her, and she's the heroine / the villain of this movie, the hero of this movie, and it's wonderful. And again, like, you don't get that type of awesome moment. Like, I feel, again, my tiny little feminist flag is waving, because I feel like as much as I had that Miles Morales moment, I feel like women are still missing that moment. Period.
I think a big issue that happens is a lot of people think, like, when it comes to, are we talking about race or are we talking about gender equality? It's not an either or. There's layers of everything. Oh, well, we put a woman in this, so you should be happy. No, it's not enough. We're not happy. We want everything. We want, everybody needs something. And
women come in different versions. Sorry, they do. Some are big, some are small, some are black, some are white.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like us dudes.
Yeah. Yep. So, quick question, and this is a little bit off topic, but if we were to have a She-Hulk movie, who do you want to play her?
I know this is probably I'm just caught up in the moment. The one who played Gamora, like she's already green.
She's not naturally green, Zoe Saldana. She's
So, but
already Gamora. I'm gonna
she's-
argue. I'm gonna argue that because
she
I
looks
want.
great in green.
She does look great in green. I want my She-Hulk to be bigger. I want my She-Hulk to have visible muscles. She was played in the 90s by Brigitte Nielsen, which is pretty good by Hollywood standards. But I want She-Hulk to look like Zap from the American Gladiators.
Ooh.
You know, I want like if she could act Serena Williams to play her.
Okay, first off, if Serena Williams is in anything, I'm watching. Because if there is an opposite to my crush on Idris Elba, it's Serena Williams. only rivaled.
By Lupita?
No,
Oh.
by my crush on Queen Latifah.
Oh. Now,
That
I would not be opposed, even though she does not have the muscles, I would not be opposed to Queen Latifah being a older She-Hulk.
because she is not only is she a very, by the way, I don't know if anybody listening out there is old enough to remember the Rock and Jock basketball that MTV had back when
I think so.
Back when musicians and actors played basketball against one another. But Queen Latifah was in that, and she was fantastic. Okay, she can
Of
ball.
course she was.
She can ball, son. And but seriously though, Queen Latifah physically she's actually pretty imposing because she is a larger woman, not only by stature,
tall,
but
yeah.
She's a plus size woman. She's got great stature, so she could give.
Dana, are you listening to us?
So she could give a physicality to the role of Queen Latifah. And spoiler alert, if you have not seen my favorite musical, which is Chicago, she plays Big Mama in that movie.
She is amazing in that role. I mean, she is
burlesque in that movie.
Yeah.
Great. So if you cannot give me that, you give me Queen Latifah. I'll take that.
Yeah, I think what I really want is I want somebody that is muscular. And that is something that we don't see on women. I mean, people are like, oh, Gal Gadot, she's so great for Wonder Woman. And yeah, she does a really good job. But she doesn't have enough muscles for me.
Well, my biggest problem with Gal Gadot, and it's been my problem since the beginning. It's not that she's a woman, but it's the fact of the matter is she looks small. Like Gal Gadot is a model. She looks small. Like I don't care how you film it, how you angle it. She looks petite. She looks petitely built. Like she doesn't look. When you say the word Amazon, I flash back to Lucy Lawless in the 90s because Lucy Lawless was thick. She was thick.
Like Lucy Lawless, just saying, she was never big.
No.
But by Hollywood standards.
She was very thick and not.
She was, yeah, but she's tiny and she's gotten tinier.
Tina Turner in her prime?
Hmm?
You think Tina Turner in her prime? You can see that?
Oh, she's tiny. Are you kidding me? Tina Turner,
those
she's
legs,
got amazing
though.
legs, but she's tiny.
Thunderball, like Thunderdome. I mean, Thunderdome.
Tina Turner. She's tiny.
The only thing plus size on her was her legs.
No, not even. Like those are amazing.
Right, she could like crush the skull with those.
Well,
things.
yeah, but no.
But it's again, you're right. Like you need someone who's built to look like that. She's literally built thick. Like, and it's funny you brought this up. There has been a controversy going on recently with a athlete, and it's because that her body naturally produces
Yes.
more testosterone. And so people have come out and said some of the most horrible things about her
Mm-hmm.
and have questioned her femininity, and they have
Mm-hmm.
questioned her skills, and they've questioned her dedication. They've questioned everything about her.
Yeah, like it's some kind of a trick. Meanwhile, this is
That's what
you
she
know,
does.
some
It-
people don't produce the same amount of lactic acid.
Yeah.
Some people produce
Yeah.
more testosterone. There are some men that produce a lot more testosterone
See,
than
Nutty,
other men.
Nutty, you're nicer than I am. I'm gonna just call that spade a spade. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympic swimmer ever, naturally produces less lactic acid than other athletes.
And
So
his wingspan is larger than
So,
proportionally
yeah.
for his body.
So imagine putting LeBron James in a more compact body, but giving him the same wingspan, plus big hands, big feet, and a lack of he doesn't get fatigued like other people, and he sets records and wins 9 Olympic gold medals, and people praise him for it. But a woman produces more testosterone, and she kicks people's butts in races. And now she's not a woman. Now she's cheating. There's an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Because her body does something that other people's does not. And it's not like she was taking some sort of booster or some sort of therapy that would make her produce more testosterone. No, she was born this way.
Yeah. So how did we get here?
Because women across the board get pooped upon when they do things exceptionally, when they do things
Okay, you could just stop that pooped on.
I mean, for real, like, they do. Like, it just, again, I feel like it's turning. I get it. I'll let you out soon enough. Like, my family ran a restaurant for 35 years, and people know that. And I was raised by a woman, so obviously a woman ran the restaurant. It was her idea, her thing, and it was from generations of women teaching one another how to cook and do these things, and that's what she based her restaurant off of. One of the things they told her when she wanted to do this was that she couldn't do it because she was a woman. Like, she couldn't run a business. It takes a man to run a business.
It's craziness.
35 years later, she's got the most successful business run in my hometown. 5-day newspaper spread. She's exceptional. Taught me how to cook, and people know how. Yeah. She taught me how to cook, and we all know how great my meat is, okay? And that's the thing that women have been going through for centuries. As far as history can go back, that's what they've been going through. And having these moments where you have, the women of Black Panther, because yes, as much as Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan are great in that movie, the women are just as good.
The women are so amazing in that movie. And like, I think if most people, what do people say? It's like, oh my God, Suri. Oh my God.
Lupita Nyong'o or Okoye.
Okoye, that's who I'm thinking. Yeah. And then the next person you hear of is M'Baku, which
is a plus size male.
A larger male. I wouldn't go plus size because he's not that, but he just, he's a little dad bodish, just a little.
You know what? By the way, if you guys go out there, look at it, like they interview him and talk about it. He talks about how he had a lot of insecurities about his body. He is a bigger dude, and it's really good. Like it's a really great interview.
And in case anybody is curious, no matter your size, everybody has some insecurities about how we look in our body because we seem to think that that's the most important thing when it's not.
Yeah.
Now, if no, it's not important, we still have insecurities.
Now, if you want to look like Winston Duke and put yourself in a fur loincloth, we are okay with that.
Yeah, you want to walk around like anything that Winston Duke does. You know what? Strut it, take it, claim it, make it your own. Man. And he's seeing like all these thirsty tweets now, and he's yeah.
You're like, he's seeing all these thirsty tweets now, like, but it's those.
No, they do those interviews where they have them with their thirsty tweets. Have you not seen those?
No, I have not. I've not.
Oh my God, it's so good. So you look it up. These actors, especially the ones that are not expecting it, they read the thirsty tweets and they're just like, their reactions are great, but there's a couple where it's like, oh, well, I'm just gonna put that one in my pocket. And Jason's letting the cat out.
I let Petey out. But no, like, it's
But yeah, you're right. I mean, like Black Panther was amazing, but we're all talking about the women in Black Panther
yeah.
because it's
And
about time.
Trevor Noah, I'm
And-
spoiler alert.
And
Trevor Noah.
all of those women were not the same.
No.
There were
Like
different
more-
types and different.
Shirley was nerdy, but yet she could still fight and she handled her business. Okoye was the strict and militarized one who says, by the way, one of the best lines in that movie is, I do not have what she was like, they were like, how can you do this or how can you not follow along him? She goes, no, I protect the throne.
Yeah,
Not
I'm loyal to the throne, not the person.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good.
And I like that because that's her job. That's her sworn duty.
And she's bamf. She's a bamf. She's wonderful.
And then the girl, and then Lupita's character, which I can't remember her name. Yeah. She's the rebel. She's the one that wants to break the system. And honestly, she and Killmonger want the same freaking thing.
And yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. She was right the whole time. Spoiler alert, fellas. If there's a lady in your life and she's telling you, hey, you probably should do this, she's probably right. Because look, yes, I'm basing everything off a comic. No, I'm not. But I'm basing everything off a comic book movie. But she was right, okay? She was right the whole dang time. If T'Challa had listened, there would have been no fight to the death. There would have been no throw me into the ocean like my ancestors because they knew that death was better than bondage. None of that. Because he would have listened.
By the way, how is that your ancestors? I'm really confused. Because if they killed themselves, how are they your ancestors?
I mean, you never know. They could have done some stuff on the ships and some people survived.
But if they all threw themselves off,
not all of them. I think he was assuming that all of them would do such a thing.
It was a poetic story. I know.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. By the way, if you haven't seen 12 Years a Slave, there's a scene of that in 12 Years a Slave. That's a good
movie.
It's a
Lupita movie. It's rough. And
by the way, Lupita is the female in the movie.
I know. I just said that's another Lupita movie. That's like what put her on the map.
Yeah, and she's in the scene. I'm pretty sure she's in the scene where Chatawal Ejiofor is sexually assaulted by another slave, and it's brutal. Like it's brutal, bro. Like good movie. Watch it. But yeah, like
and she got an Academy Award for that, I believe.
Was it either him or her? One of them, or maybe both. Like,
she's got an Academy Award. Yeah, hang on.
So good.
Awards. Hang on.
But yeah, man, like I go back to Black Panther so much because you see the power of women in that movie. And I talk about Trevor Noah. I mentioned him earlier because Trevor Noah talks about it. Like he's watching the movie and they're talking in the African dialect and he goes, I know that. I don't need subtitles. That's not for me. He's like, that's not for you. That's for me. And you laugh at it because Trevor Noah is hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's 100% accurate.
Yes. So Lupita got an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for 12 Years a Slave. She also got the BAFTA for it and the SAG Award for it.
You know. But the thing about it
she also has Tony, by the way.
Really? What was she singing in?
Hang on.
I didn't know she had a Tony. That's amazing.
Oh yeah. Where'd it go?
You know, Trevor Noah talks about how when he sees all those powerful Black women.
Eclipse 2015. It's a play, takes place in 2003, tells the story of 5 Liberian women and their tale of survival near the end of the Second Liberian Civil War. It became the first play with an all-Black and female cast, creative cast, and team to premiere on Broadway.
That's amazing. I need to watch that. Some form of that needs to be made so I can watch it.
Yes.
But you know, Trevor Noah says that when he sees all these powerful Black women beating these Black men, he goes, that was my childhood. Like that was me. And it's funny, but those are the small things. Those are the things that we get from unconventional heroes and non-traditional characters that make them more real. And I've toted on this whole podcast. But when you let something become more real, and it's not just the situations they find themselves in, but it's also the diversity that you can find those characters in. Because diversity is what makes things real. Diversity is what makes things look and feel like everyday life, because you're not going to find an area of the world where there's not someone who stands out, whether they're a nerd, black, Asian, white, whatever. Like, you're not going to find a place where that is just, this is all that's
The
in.
world does not look like the CW backlot.
No, it does not. No, it does not.
And
By the way,
I know that like the idea is that it's fantasy and we're supposed to be like
oh boy.
what is it, supplanting our reality or something like that. But after a while, if you don't see you or you don't see the diversity, you think that any other way is wrong.
Yeah, and it's funny you talk about that, because I'm a nerd, if no one has ever figured this out. I love fantasy. I love medieval. I've done several different reports in school on chivalry and knights and all this other stuff. And one of the things that I love, and I've not watched a lot of Game of Thrones, but one of my problems in Game of Thrones is that there's not a lot of diversity. There's a whole bunch of white people, and there's and we're not
there.
No. After we get off the podcast, I'll talk to you about it, because I'm definitely watching this latest season, because there's a lot for me in Game of Thrones. But one of the things that I've had a lot of people have had problems with Critical Role in their animated series, because they say there's not enough diversity. And one of the things that I support that with is the fact that there are orcs and other creatures in that Critical Role animated series that are not white people. And I think one of the things that makes fantasy so good, and we see that in Will Smith's Bright on Netflix, is that the orcs and the non-white people are considered the minorities. And that helps show you that these are people who are, the oppressed and the put upon characters in that universe, and people lose that and they forget it. And that's one of the things that Bright does well. And also one of the things that people cry for diversity in the animated Critical Role, but there are orcs and little people and other people that are not white in it.
I'm gonna argue this one on you, because that says that humans are all white, and that in order to be not white, you have to be other. You have to be a grotesque version.
Right. That is true, but I also feel like if you do it in the way that doesn't make them out to be monsters or these inhuman things, and you humanize these characters, it makes it better.
I think it's just time to start adding diversity. Like, it's all well and good that, not that it's well and good,
history accurate.
It's fantasy. It doesn't have to be historically accurate. That's the thing that drives me nuts. Everybody's like, oh, well, there was really separated, blah, 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 in history. It's fantasy. If I've got a dragon flying, you can't tell me that we've got different colors of people walking around. You can't tell me that it would be strange to have a king that is got brown colors on his skin.
Spoiler alert, if you have not watched Dragon Prince on Netflix,
yeah,
the king in that is black, and the two main characters are black. It is great.
There's the Dragon Prince has definitely got some diversity. I'm loving that. But that's the thing. It's like, it's fantasy, guys. We can put this in. And I'm going to go in Game of Thrones. In Game of Thrones, in the books, A Song of Ice and Fire, there is a lot more diversity than there is elsewhere. Now, granted, George was basing it on European things, and he made his main houses white, but he also made Dorne not white. He made the Dothraki not white. He made everything else around not white. And then the show decided, oh, we're going to cast everybody white except for a few people of color, and we'll make sure we kill them off because we can't have too many of them. Oh, and Alexander Siddig, yeah, even though he's really important in the books, who cares? We're going to do him wrong. You got Alexander Siddig to play the character, and you barely used him.
Spoiler alert: Jason Momoa is not white, guys. He's a wonderfully
sexy. But the Dothraki were supposed to be Mongolian.
Ooh,
yeah.
Yo, oh my god! So you're telling me that Benjamin Wong from Marco Polo and who played Ben in Doctor Strange could have been in Game of Thrones?
Yeah, he should have been. Yeah.
After we finish, we'll talk about it because I've got a lot of things I have problems with.
I have lots of problems, and I do a whole podcast about it that you can go to specficmedia.com.
Beyond the Wall.
Beyond the Wall. Yes, a Game of Thrones podcast presented by specficmedia.com.
But yeah, it's fantasy allows us to make fantasies, okay, guys? Like it's okay.
It's all made up. So anybody that that's the other thing. It's like, oh, well, we're dealing with racism by using this, and we're gonna put the modern struggle in there. Okay, but you know what? You're deciding to put that in there. Like, it's still a made up world. You get to decide. I do like when they take something that instead of using a human race and creating racism there, that it's like an alien race or something like that, because then you can tackle the ugliness of bigotry without it being actually personal to the people reading it. I will say one of the things I enjoy about the GFL series by Scott Sigler is he comes from a very racist planet. And when I say racist, I mean racist against non-purist nation peoples. So even like 0G humans, they're supposed to hate because they've been perverted.
Dude, it's one of the things that made me love Sigler so much is that he makes the main character of his YA football in space series a bigot.
I don't think it was originally intended to be YA, but it did become YA.
It became YA.
I think most of the time what he wants to do is he wants to make a character have flaws to overcome. And so that has been criticism for certain characters of his. And they're like, well, I mean, if all your characters are like sexist and racist and all these other things, the author must be. And it's like, well, I think he's more trying to give the character something to grow on.
Yeah. And spoilers for that series.
He gets over it real fast.
He's got a girlfriend and she's a blue person. Back of the Wreck of Montaigne. She's a beast.
Blue?
Yes, the 0G humans are blue.
I didn't think they were all blue.
Well, I don't think all of them, but I know Becca's blue. She's blue. Because they make a mention of that when he gets caught.
I thought Midori was.
No, when Quentin Barnes gets photographed by the paparazzi.
Yeah, that's with Midori.
I thought it was with Becca.
Holly Midori.
Now I gotta go back.
Yeah, no, I don't think Becca's blue.
I thought she was blue. Scott, if she's not blue, make her blue. Change it up. Retcon it. Blue. To make my theory correct.
No.
But you know what? Like, again, we're talking all this stuff and we're going all over the place. But these are what our heroes are today, guys. Like, there are the fantasized football players and basketball players and comic heroes and movie characters that represent who we are. And who we are is not white people, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't realize, Nutty's kind of pale. Like, and Nutty's championing this. Like, she's awesome. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't the case, right? Like, she's amazing. And her husband's like brown and stuff.
Okay.
Like, there's so much inclusion that can happen and that can happen because of the mediums that we enjoy, that we forget about them. Like, we push them off to the side because they're a comic or they're a video game or they're a movie or they're make-believe or fantasy. But one of the biggest genres that nerds enjoy is fantasy.
Yeah. And like I said, you make the rules. You make the rules of your fantasy. So like you can't say, "Oh, well, the world is ugly." Yeah, the world's ugly because you made it ugly.
Yeah. One of the reasons why fantasy exists is because we wanted a departure from the ugly world we lived in.
Yeah. We wanted somewhere to escape. And sometimes, and that being said, science fiction and fantasy has done a lot to change people's minds and to show people another way. And through science fiction, this is where Jewish writers got their start because they couldn't write anywhere else. This is where people of color got their start. This is where women got their start. There are so many women in science fiction. Um, that was a weird noise. And all of this came from science fiction. And so we can tackle these characters using speculative fiction, using fantasy, but we get to make our own rules. So why? And I'm bringing it back to the unconventional heroes. Why, if we get to make our own rules and we get to decide what these characters are, why do we keep making them the chiseled jaw, blonde haired, blue eyed, 9-abbed poster boys, like let's have somebody different.
Again, I think I've mentioned this before, but after I mentioned Black Panther a lot, but after Black Panther, I don't know if I can say that because Michael B. Jordan had like 1,000 abs in that movie.
He definitely had 9 abs.
He was cut from the gods in that movie. So was Chadwick Boseman, but it's just a smaller version. And M'Baku's like, no, I'm just big, dog.
I'm
big.
And I'm the hottest one. Yeah.
Go see it, folks. If you haven't seen Black Panther, do it. And do it for the scene where he barks at Watson. Like it's the best.
He's not Watson in the movie.
He's Watson. He's one of the 2 Tolkien white guys in that movie.
So I haven't seen Endgame, and I know that people have lamented that Doctor Strange and Tony Stark didn't make a no sausage Sherlock comment.
I was lamenting that they didn't make the goatee bros comment because there's a scene in the comics where they make a reference about their immaculate goatees and they didn't make that.
But I also think okay, I like Doctor Strange and what's his face Watson need to meet in the movie.
Somehow he's there in the last battle, like.
Yeah. Hey, they met up in The Hobbit, so it's all good.
That is true. They did. Oh man, this is why I miss conversations. We can have all kinds of.
Yeah, we went way overboard. I've got lots of editing to do, but thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoy Unconventional Heroes, and I had so many that I wanted to talk about when I was driving back from Mysticon, and then I only thought about 3 when we talked about it today. So if you have some unconventional heroes that you want us to talk about, and maybe you want us to revisit this or whatever, send in some information. Go to the Facebook group, go send us some email, send us a voicemail. However you'd like, let us know who are your favorite unconventional heroes and why. And Jason, where can people hear you and Jen on the internet?
You can always find us at talknerdytomepodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdytome. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at nerdytomepodcast.
And all of that is with the number 2. You have to tell them it's number 2.
It's been a while since I've done that, by the way. I thought I was going to mess it up.
You didn't mess it up at all. It was beautiful. Now that you've pointed it out, you ruined the fact that you didn't mess it up.
Well, you never know. There could be new people in the audience and be like, why is he doing that? Like, why is he making it so formulaic?
Nobody's thinking that. See, again, you're ruining it.
Look, they're newbies out there.
You're pointing all the seams out.
Look, if you're a new person and have never listened to this podcast before,
you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah, vindicate me.
So thank you so much. You can hear all the links that you can send in feedback in the outro. Thank you for joining us. And I do want to go over and I want to very quickly thank the Patreons. The patrons on the Patreon account, however you say that. You can donate to the show using Patreon, or you can donate using PayPal. You can mail me something. I don't know. It's up to you. But basically, the reason why I collect donations is to pay for server costs, to pay to keep this podcast going and to keep my bandwidth and everything else. So thank you very much. And thanks to these thanks to these patrons. Um, we now do 2 episodes a month. That's right.
Indeed.
We do 2 episodes a month. We used to do 1 episode a month, and now we do 2. And very soon, the swag schedule is going to be starting up about this time every year. The patrons are going to get their gifts. So if you are at, I think it's $10 and above, you get a t-shirt. If you are at $5 and above, you get to pick a piece of art, original piece of art that gets sent to you. And then if you are at $1 and above, you get a thank you once a month. If you are a patron, you get access to the t-shirt where you pay cost. Everybody else can buy the t-shirts with a slight markup. It ends up being $5. If you are a patron, though, you get it at cost. So thank you to the top Big Daddy, Jax. Thank you to the second Big Daddy, Jason. Thank you to Andy Luke. Thank you to Susanna. Thank you to Shane, our #1 fan. Thank you to new patron Will. Thank you to Zach Man. Thank you to Greg. Thank you to the Radical Geek. Thank you to Steve Pritchard. Thank you to Susan. Thank you to Lynette McFadden. Thank you to Melissa A. Bartell. Thank you
The
to
Bathtub Mermaid! I made it just in time.
Thank you to Harold. Thank you to Ian. Thank you, Rich the TT. Thank you, Patrick Scafito. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Kinsey. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Justine. Thank you, everyone, for everything you have done. Oh, and thank you to our one that donates through PayPal. Thank you, Dagny. Thank you, everyone, for all of your support. We appreciate it.
Always.
All right. And you can listen to a cool promo about a cool podcast that you should be listening to. Oh, and patrons, if you have something to promote, your promos go first. I can stop the broadcast.